Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the PromoMinds podcast interview series. Today I'm sitting down with the one and only Shea Fairbanks from Shea Fairbanks Coaching. He lives out in Calgary, Alberta, and he's very much into the human performance, becoming a human performance specialist. And he has completed ultra marathons. I'm very much looking forward to sitting down with him today and hearing more about his perspective on life, his sobriety, and all of that. So please welcome Shea Fairbanks.
Thanks, Steve. Happy to be here. Looking forward to this conversation.
Well, thanks for coming on. Could you please tell us a little bit about your background, your journey, how you got to where you are today?
Yeah. Oh man, I'll first kind of touch on the sobriety piece, and it kind of pulls all the things together. But I for a long time, I worked the corporate type thing. I did a bunch of odd jobs here and there. I was in the music industry as a music producer for about, I want to say, 8 to 10 years out in Vancouver for a long time. And in that space, I was around drugs and alcohol every single day, and they just became part of my normal life. And it wasn't until leaving Vancouver, leaving the music industry, and coming back to Calgary in 2018 that I kind of started to really taper off most of that stuff. And then there was the pandemic, and in the pandemic, it's just over three years sober now. September 10th, I saw a post on Facebook the day before. I was going off to the golf course to play golf, and I had quite a few drinks on the course, and saw this post in the morning when I was on the course saying, like, from a buddy of mine being like, I just completed 100 days sober. And I just wrote like congrats and sent him a personal message, and he was like, I challenge you to do it, because if there's anyone that can't do it, it's probably you. And I'm a pretty competitive guy. Definitely personally competitive with myself, but also if someone's going to throw down a gauntlet or a challenge like that for me, I'm going to see it through. So I did this. I chose the next day. I said, well, I'm currently texting you drunk, so I will do that tomorrow. And I literally have not had a sip of alcohol since I woke up on September 10th, 2020. And I did the 100 days, got to 100 days, thought, well, I feel pretty darn good. Maybe I should go for 6 months. Went for 6 months. And in that period of like the 6 months, went through a breakup, didn't start drinking during the breakup. So I was like, I think I got this. And then I was like, well, I'm going to just push the goal out to 12 months, see what happens. And so I survived the summer and got to the 12-month mark, and I had all the intention in the world to go back to drinking at that 12-month mark, and I didn't, and I just kind of stayed on the ship I'm on. So I just kind of stopped drinking, stayed not drinking, and here I am. And from that is, through the pandemic, I ended up moving to Costa Rica um, for a chance at living a life that's full of freedom would be the word I would use, but essentially the personal health choice was made mandatory by the government, and I chose to escape the country and not follow suit in the personal health choice that was being mandated. And from that, I obviously didn't have the corporate job anymore and needed to find a way to create income and create money. And so I started my coaching business, first doing kind of personal training and CrossFit coaching. And all the while, I'd already kind of had this breathwork practice kind of as I had a breathwork practice myself, and I had that breathwork practice kind of built into the stuff that I was doing with some of my clients. And then I'd taken a course through XPT, so Laird Hamilton's company, doing performance breathwork. And so that was a big part of the work that I wanted to incorporate into how we move, how the body moves, and in relation to our breath and stress resilience and all the fun things that come from performance breathing. And so I really blended those two kind of things together. So from like a CrossFit functional background, that I was sober, but I didn't know quite how to tie the sober piece in. And all the while I was doing that, living in Costa Rica, the 2022 year. So like each year I pick a big goal, or at least I have since I got sober. And that first year was sobriety, like just sobriety above and over everything else. That was my yearly goal for myself. Like, can I stay sober for a year? So then I knocked it out of the park and I felt great. And then 2021, the rest of it kind of went on, and I was trying to think like, what am I going to do for this like second year? And so for 2022, I picked to do Murph. I got the shirt on today, even the Murph Challenge or the Murph workout, but I did it weekly in the weight vest, running a mile, the 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 squats, and then run another mile. I did that once a week, all 52 weeks of the year. And it kicked my ass, but I was in the best shape of my life. It literally, that workout, if there's one workout that everyone on earth I think should be able to do is whether you're doing it with a vest or not, just go out and do Murph, and don't worry about the time. It's less about the time. It's more about the people that it's honoring. The any of those families that have ended up losing a son or a daughter in the line of fire. And so that's the reason I did it. I was super impacted by reading Lone Survivor. Actually, the day before I quit drinking, was it the day before? It was on September 10th when I started reading Lone Survivor. The day I stopped drinking, I was at my parents' place in Kelowna. I was sitting on the dock and I was reading Lone Survivor, and I was like, this book is so freaking good. And I was like instantly hooked. And I'd done Murph for the first time in 2020 at CrossFit on Memorial Day, and I was like, okay, this is a beast of a workout, and it's still one of my favorite workouts to do. So anyways, I did Murph every week, and I was like, okay, that's a great challenge. And the end of 2022, I thought I need a goal for 2023, so I signed up for an ultra marathon, and thought, you know what, I know I can run the distance. I know I can do that. When I was younger, we would do 10Ks and all these other running events and triathlons, and we swam and would do bike things. And so I always felt like I was kind of close and able to push myself. I had the strength for sure. I had the background from endurance and strength training and all that. I was like, I'm good enough. I'm in good enough shape. I can do this. And I signed up originally for the 100 mile, and it wasn't until about 2 months out from doing Sinister 7 this year out west here in Crow's Nest Pass that I ended up having like a pretty banged up ankle, tibia going into the race. So I emailed the guys and said, hey, any chance I can switch? I don't want to quit the race, but any chance I can switch to either like the 50K or something? And they're like, yeah, absolutely, you can. So I switched into 50K, and I was like, okay, all I have to do is run 50K. I've already done that in training run. So I was like, I think I got this in the bag. And I mean, I completed it, but wow, it was not in the bag as I thought it was in the bag. When you do something, you're like, wow, this is actually the first legs 1 and 2. I crushed. I was one of the first guys back to the transition area. And then I said to my kind of crew of people, I was like, I'll see you guys in 2 hours. And I saw them in 5.5 hours. It was not nearly as fast and definitely not as confident as I thought I was going to be, but completed that, have the bug of the ultra running bug. And from that, my goal for this following year, for the 2024 year, is 2 ultras. I have the 50-mile Sinister 7, so that's 80K, and then I'm doing one called Fat Dog, which I believe is in Manning Park, BC, and I'm going to do the 100K of that. So 80 and 100K. So
That's
those
amazing.
my new goals, I guess, for the year, and what I'm training for, and all the stuff that then relates into that. So using big goals to create big adaptation, big change, and then using that to elevate human performance. And all the while, I've been running my business. Within this last year, as I was kind of training for this ultra, I started blending at the guidance of one of my business mentors. Just said, why don't you start blending sobriety in with all the other work you're doing? And it just started. It was just like, yep, I think that's a good idea. And so that kind of just became the norm.
Wow. There's a lot to digest there.
Yes,
And,
there is.
more from the PromoMinds podcast coming up shortly. PromoMinds. Promote your brand, transform your business. Oh, that's quite the story. Now, I guess first off, going back to kind of the very beginnings there, when you made that decision to go sober and do it for 100 days, as like your competitive spirit was saying, I am going to crush this, right?
Yeah.
What kept you in the game? Because I would imagine that there were days where you were like, well, I could just have a beer or something like that, but then you just kept pushing and pushed to the 6 months and 1 year, and it's just been a perpetual thing. And here you are over 3 years later, and it's now become a part of your brand. So what has kept you going in the early days and now?
Ooh. Uh, I mean, kind of, and a lot of things I do, I share content on this, and I touch on this in some of my posts. Is kind of using breath work was kind of one of the ways that I used that I was able to kind of handle those cravings. But it's more than that for me. It kind of got to this point, and it's kind of hard to explain, but I kind of got to this point where I kind of just have this way about me. I've always had it. It's, if I choose and I'd say that something's like, that's poison, or that's, I'm no longer eating that, then I'm no longer eating that. Like, not everyone has that cutoff switch to say, like, you see a box of cookies and they're gonna, eat the box of cookies. If I tell myself those cookies don't allow me to hit my goals that I want to hit, I just don't eat them. I see them and I see poison and I just steer clear. Now, part of that is having the discipline to say, like, I've done this now long enough that I know cookies equal bad. Cookies make my stomach feel like crap, skin feel like crap, all of that stuff. So just knowing what's good, what's bad, having that discipline of that, and then also just like getting those reps in, and just, you know, you
Mhm.
try it a few times, similar to the drinking thing. Now, it wasn't in that period; it was in the period kind of before. There were times where I'd say like, oh, I'm going to do like 30 days sober here, or like I'm going to start with 30 days and see how long I can go. And there'd always be something would pop up and I would give in and have a beer or have a big night out with boys or something. And then I'd end up, that would lead to 6 months of hard binging. And I was like, well, clearly whatever I'm doing is not working. It's not allowing me to live the life that I want to live. And so it was in that area where I was able to say like, you know what, this isn't serving me anymore. And I just told myself like, alcohol does not have any space in my life. Like it's not allowed to enter my life, because when I'm drinking, I'm the worst version of myself. And that's, if I'm drinking, then I'm obviously using that as a coping mechanism to escape. And I'm happy to share about it. I escape the things kind of that happened in my childhood, that those big traumatic experiences that kind of lead you down the road of using something like drugs and alcohol to cope. So
Yeah.
breath work was one thing that I really leaned on. Meditation, gratitude journaling, and then the biggest thing for myself has just been kind of creating a really solid morning and evening routine. Like just having that, it's structured, and it's structured for a reason. It's structured so that I don't have to make all those small decisions in my day. Like most of the decisions in my day are made by myself, but like made in advance so that I can
Yeah.
focus on the big.
It's like the Mark Zuckerberg. He wears the same thing every day because he doesn't want to waste time thinking about what he has to put on.
Yeah, exactly. I just have a stack of t-shirts, and if I'm working at home, I'm wearing shorts like I am today. So I have two pairs of shorts sit right on the top. It's like underwear, socks, t-shirt, shorts, done. Whatever it is, like whatever's on the top of the stack. I'm not deciding like, ooh, is it the green shirt or the black shirt? It's whatever shirt's on top. Today is this red Murph shirt from this year. Yesterday was the blue Murph shirt from last year. It's just,
Yeah.
it's whatever's on the top of the pile. And it actually just, having that structure for the wardrobe, having the structure for a diet, having the structure for, coffee, all that stuff, making sure that all those little things that I do in my day. So I wake up, make sure I get my breath work, then straight into meditation from breath, and using the breath as an access point to the meditation, finish meditation, do my gratitude journaling. All of that is done while seated upright in bed, done, move it into cold shower, feeling energized, clothes, coffee, get after it. So just really,
Ready to start the day.
yeah, just really fine tuning the day and getting to a place where most of those small decisions are taken for me, allowing me to kind of just use my mind to focus on the stuff that really matters.
Now, we were talking a little bit before we started this, just in the realm of breath work. And I had said to you that I am very much a novice beginner as it comes to breath work, but I do understand the importance of it. And I've used some techniques over the last couple years, just more for stress management. But I was wondering if you could share what breathwork means to you and how you actually utilize it, because there's different, as you said before, that it tends to be the latest fad sort of thing. So maybe you could enlighten the audience a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it's a trending topic, and it's not to say that breathwork's bad. It's a trending topic. It's similar to ice baths, which are all the rage. Sauna and ice bath, something I've been using as part of my recovery protocol for 15 years, is now all of a sudden the coolest thing that anyone can do is sit in a bath full of ice. And and control their breath, actually. But taking it back to the breathwork side, there's a lot of noise in the breathwork space in my mind, and a lot of it is it's really hard to know what is actually going to help someone based on where they're at, and what style or what technique or what type of breath work is really going to ultimately drive. In my mind, I try and do everything from a human performance perspective. So what is going to drive my human performance? What type of breathing throughout my day can I mix in before I jump on a sales meeting, before I jump on a podcast, before I jump into a workout, or before I jump into an ice bath? Like, how can you use the breath to either upregulate or downregulate the nervous system based on what experience is coming next for you? And that is a lot of different breathing techniques and cadences and etc., and making sure you have proper breathing mechanics. And a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing, and we touched on this before we hopped on, is if you're scrolling on your phone, what most of what you're going to see are, and it's not to knock it because it has its own purpose. It totally serves a purpose within the industry of breath work, and within that focus is somatic breathing. So you're going to see people lying down in a big group, all on mats with blankets on. They're crying hysterically. They're screaming. They're having these out of body experiences. Someone has their hand on their chest, pulling some evil spirit out of their body through an energetic somatic breath work experience. Now, it's not to say that that doesn't work, and it totally does work. And I've been in those experiences myself, but the way that I use breath work for myself is not from that perspective. And it's not to say that that's bad. I want to make sure that that's abundantly clear, that that is totally a technique and a total focus all within like its own niche within breathwork. And I guess the niche that I focus on is performance breathing, and how we breathe impacts our human performance, our stress resilience, our helps us unlock our unlimited potential, all the things that truly matter if we want to be living at our most optimal. And so the practices that I use are not kind of a Wim Hof, and Wim Hof is fantastic. In terms of introducing apnea, introducing some of the for making breathwork popular, for making it mainstream, Wim Hof's amazing. Does he care if you breathe through your nose or your mouth? Absolutely not. Does he focus on proper breathing mechanics? Absolutely not. But for making breathwork popular and cool and into the mainstream, he's the pioneer, and we should all be grateful for him creating that and making it popular, because now we have this tool that has been around for millions of years that no one really thought about, and it was always just kind of an afterthought. And but now we have it as a tool we can all access. And so the Wim Hof stuff is great, but the stuff I really focus on myself is performance breathing. And so what that would entail would be making sure we're using proper breathing mechanics and breathing with all the muscles aligned within our respiratory system. So that means the muscles of the lower abdomen, the pelvic floor, our diaphragm, our internal and external intercostal muscles in our rib cage, making sure that when we are breathing, our shoulders aren't going up and our rib cage is actually expanding horizontally, creating that lateral movement through our chest. So the diaphragm pulls down, the belly expands, the rib cage expands. That is what a deep breath actually is. And most people, if I say like, hey, take a deep breath, they're going to go, that's right here. That's up in that upper chest. That does not actually access blood flow deep into the lungs, deep in air, deep into the, like getting into the blood. And more often than not, I'd say most people are breathing through their mouth. And what it is that I'm really focused on, especially, I mean, within the work I do for myself, but also the work I do with my clients and within my coaching programs is helping people breathe through their nose. And this device on our face was actually engineered and designed to breathe. That's what it was. That's what it is created for. The functionality of within the functionality within the nose allows the air to be compressed. It allows it to be warmed up. It allows it to be filtered, and then pushes that air down into the body. Now, when we're talking, we're not able to breathe through our nose. We're being forced to breathe through our mouth. But if we're not talking, for the most part, if you once you become aware of it, of how you're breathing, whether it's nasal breathing or mouth breathing, and once you start nasal breathing, you start walking around in public and seeing people, and most people are walking around with their mouth gaped open, breathing, and it's like the hardest thing for me to like walk around and not just be like, shut your mouth, shut your mouth, shut your mouth, breathe through your nose. It will save your life, and it actually will. There's books on this. There are fantastic books on this. I recommend everyone read James Nestor's Breath. That is kind of like the best uh, intro to all this breath stuff as a book. Patrick McCowan also has a book called The Oxygen Advantage, which is fantastic. And there's even like an old book if someone's interested in reading it, and it goes in about native tribes. George Catlin is his name, and it's called, I believe it's called Shut Your Mouth and Save Your Life. And it looks at over a million. He's old, like it. We're talking 1800s old. He went and researched native tribes and saw indigenous tribes and saw these, how they were all, whether they're on a hunt and they're running through the woods, their mouth was closed. Um, whatever they were doing, mouth was always closed. It's always breathing through the nose constantly. And that it's interesting that we've fallen so far from then into this
Yeah.
world of mouth breathers.
It's
So
kind of neat the way that you were describing the flow of the air through your nose into your lungs, and just all the different components that it triggers, like filtration, compression, warms it up, all that stuff. What came to mind was like a diesel powered engine. When you look at the fuel going into the piston chamber, well, it's already filtered going in, but it's compressed so much, and that's what causes that huge combustion, which gives you all the horsepower in the world. So it's kind of neat to sit back and listen to you describe it, and then like see the similarities in how an actual engine operates.
totally, and that's I've never had anyone describe it that way, but that makes absolute perfect sense for anyone that's owned a diesel vehicle, or been in a diesel vehicle, and how it works, or seen the engine. And it's just if you look at the top, and we can kind of tie it into running. If you look at the top runners, I'm going to butcher his name, but like Chapogi, or the guy
Yeah.
from I think he's from Nigeria or Kenya or Ethiopia. He's the only guy on planet Earth to run a sub 2 hour marathon, which is mind blowing how fast he can run. He breathes through his nose when he runs. So
Wow.
by breathing through your nose, you're able to control your heart rate, keep your heart rate in a lower heart rate zone, and be able to power the body faster, longer. And if you look at biology, you look at animals, yes, they might pant and get into a higher, uh, like a higher heart rate zone for them, but their recovery is so
Yeah.
fast. They switch from mouth breathing or panting down to nasal breathing almost right away, like almost instantaneously. Whereas with us, and there's one of my absolute favorite people in this space of human performance and breath work is a guy named Brian McKenzie. And if anyone doesn't know him, look him up. He's like he's like my Mount Rushmore of human performance in my mind, as well as
Okay.
Laird and Gabby and kind of the work that they do. But Brian McKenzie's definitely up there for in terms of human performance and just his he. I was listening to a podcast from it must have been like 2020 or something where he was talking about animals and how when they are like say a leopard is going after a gazelle, they're the gazelle is running away, breathing through its nose. The leopard is chasing, breathing through its nose while in hot pursuit, while in a run. And it's interesting that that's what our other mammal, that's what other mammals do. And we are just like the one mammal that, because we can talk, it seems like we decided that breathing through the nose is not for us, that breathing through the mouth is what we want to do. And it creates all kinds of stress and, bacteria in your mouth because your mouth's always constantly open, breathing in all the crap that's around us. And it's just
Yeah.
because the nose is how it is created, when it filters the air, it's filtering out all those potentially harmful things as well. So
Yeah.
it's engineered and designed to, yes, smell is one thing, but to breathe is what it's mainly for. And it's a don't know exactly what the calculation on our max heart rate zone, but of your max heart rate zone, nasal breathing, the body is actually able to do 80 to 90% of that max heart rate zone nasal breathing, which
Wow.
is for most people, I'd say it's probably like I want to say like 20 to 30%.
If you're looking for a profound book on mental fortitude during extremely difficult times, then I highly recommend checking out the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. This book is jam-packed with real-life experiences from the 4 different internment camps, Nazi internment camps during World War II. So I highly recommend checking it out. And that's Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. All right, let's get back to the show. See, when I got into running, like I used to do ultra running, and getting into it, I was listening to Rich Roll, and that's where he talked about. I think that's where I first learned about like the zone 2 training and controlling your heartbeat, and I started getting more into focusing on my breathing, my heart rate, and it's amazing how like just how much you can control that when you're in that flow state. Like I would have my smartwatch on, and I would be looking at my heart rate, and I would see that I'd be at like 135 or something like that, and I'm trying to bring it down, and just by simply focusing on my breathing and kind of relaxing a little bit, it happened so fast to just bring it down to where I wanted it, or a lot closer to where it needed to be. Now, um, moving on from the breathing, if we you had mentioned that you moved to Costa Rica for a little while, and I totally understand why you would do that. I've throughout the whole pandemic, I've always been of the opinion that it should be personal choice, because you're trying to do like a one size fits all sort of thing. And it's totally good to, if you decided that you wanted it, good on you. If you decide you don't want it, good on you. You made a decision. But to bring something out and have it affect so many people so fast, my whole rationality was, okay, well, look at any commercial, look at an Advil commercial. How long has Advil been out? Like, longer before I've been alive.
Yeah.
And you still have like 10 seconds of an advertisement, and the rest of the commercial is all like possible side effects, right?
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, the amount of controversy that came from that, like, I get it. People were scared and afraid and whatnot. But yeah, just the way I look at it is, I think it comes down to personal choice, and we have seen kind of the outfall of that. But anyway, so you were in Costa Rica,
Yeah.
and did you say this is when you decided to start your business?
Yes. Yeah. So I was there. I couldn't work the corporate world. A lot of them at the time still had a mandated policy for their
Yeah,
employees back in North America, and so while down there, I was like, I gotta figure out a way to bring some money in, and and I had a background in CrossFit, within functional training, and knowing how to coach CrossFit, and I had some other modalities tied to it. I have a nutrition, like precision nutrition, uh, coaching certification. I have the breathwork certification. And I was like, well, how do I, you know, pair some of these things together and kind of create a business? And that's kind of what I was focused on for a lot of it, was human performance through the lens of physical training, movement, paired up with what we're putting into our body as fuel, how we're sleeping, how we're hydrating, how we're breathing. Obviously, is a big piece of that. So that that kind of all blended together while I was down there, and really tried to figure out a business that would work for me, that was something that I'm actually passionate about, which is obviously, I think, quite apparent to most people that know me, that human performance and breath work and taking care of your vessel and proper sleep and running and training and movement and all that stuff is super important. So
yeah. So when you finally came up with the formula, or a basic format of what, um, I guess, the birth of your business, what are some of the things you did to initially launch it?
oh man, I was doing a little bit of, I kind of built a bit of a website, thinking that I have to go the old school approach, have a website first, and that would attract people to my business. And I realized pretty quickly that no one spends much time on websites anymore, especially not, I mean, this guy doesn't. So why would, like, I definitely don't spend much time on people's websites. So I don't know why someone would spend a lot of time on my website. Uh, and it kind of led me to Instagram and social media, and really seeing, like, maybe if I just start sharing as much value as I can for free on my Instagram, that someone's going to see that, recognize it, be able to have access to all that free information. And from there, they're going to be able to say, like, you know what, like, this guy's got something. Like, maybe I should reach out and work with this guy. And that's kind of where it started, was, how do I create content? How do I create knowledge? How do I share and give back to the community that I'm ultimately trying to build. And Instagram was that avenue for me. And then obviously later came TikTok. But so I use TikTok and Instagram as kind of my main hubs of my social media arm at this point from a marketing standpoint.
Cool. And what kind of challenges did you face initially doing your launching?
Oof. I didn't have many followers to begin with, and most of the people that did follow me were old friends or people from the music industry and people that were um, people of a different mind, whether it was tied to the alcohol stuff and still drinking, or whether it was people that weren't focused on human performance. And and so I kind of felt that in the early days. And to be honest, I didn't know how to make a reel or put captions on it. And I was watching, YouTube videos on how to make better videos, how to talk to the camera. I would only make like a picture post and write a little caption on it. That's it. Like I was terrified of doing a one-on-one with me talking to the camera and posting it on my story. Like that, if I look back to 2020, that wasn't happening. Now I feel like I do that every damn day. That's just
Mhm.
like it becomes so second nature. I don't even I It just makes me feel at this point like that's just part of my brand is being, really upfront with what's going on in my world. Uh, you know, whether it's I'm out golfing with my family and sharing a little clip of that, or I'm in the gym training, or I'm in the bathtub working on a little recovery. I, what I eat, what I do before I sleep, like what supplements I take. I like to share as much as I can, as much as I'm building a a community for people that are interested in human performance and breathwork and sobriety. I'm also creating the brand that is me, and and sharing the things that truly light me up, like what book I'm reading, or etc. Like any of that stuff, what music I like listening to, anything.
Absolutely. Did you find was so the followers that you have,
Yeah.
and I just know your Instagram, but with the followers that you have, was it kind of a slow progression over the last few years, or was there a moment where you gained quite a bit of followers, uh, maybe related to something that something you were a part of, or something that you shared, or how did the community come about?
Yeah, so it's kind of been a slow build for the most part. There are a couple videos that I posted that have had some the videos that I posted that are about my journey to sobriety, while also including, mixing in elements of my human performance, running ultras. That when I blended those things together with breath work, and really tying, if there's kind of a couple videos I have that have kind of tied all of those things together. And when I have done that, the follower count obviously has gone up significantly in those two examples. But from the most part, it's been a very organic, slow build. I'm not the type of person that's trying to build something for it to go viral, for it to make me famous. I'm trying to build something sustainable that I can have for, the next 50 years of my life. This is truly what I enjoy doing, is coaching, and it's primarily men, coaching men on getting sober, which I believe you can't truly, I don't believe someone can truly have the high performance life that they're truly looking for if they're drinking. Like I just don't think it's possible. As someone that was there myself, I was working out, I was running, I was taking care of my body, I was eating right, I was doing all this stuff, but I was drinking and I wasn't seeing the gains in all the other areas of my life. And it wasn't until I cut alcohol out that literally everything in my life improved. And it was at that turning point. So I don't believe the two can work together. I just don't think it's possible. Now, is that to say that I know all and that someone can't, create an exceptional life while still being a drinker? Possible. It's highly possible, but um, I think if you're going to line up 10 people, 9 out of 10 of them are going to need to, 9 out of 10 are going to need to be sober in order to achieve that high human performance. And so that is, that's kind of my focus within that. I'm really trying to build a business and a community that's built for longevity. And that's, another element of human performance is kind of the work that I do on myself, the work that my clients do for themselves. It's all about building that human performance for longevity.
Yeah. You sound very passionate about what you're doing, and just the way that you described the more authentic approach, right? Like you said, you're not looking to go viral. You're looking to build something sustainable. You're looking to build that foundation. And I think the approach that you're making is like tremendous. Hey guys, if you're into hiking at all, I highly recommend subscribing to my YouTube page, Steve Leslie Hikes. That's Steve Leslie Hikes on YouTube. I have a lot of content on there from some of the crazy hikes that I've been on, including Angel's Landing in Zion National Park. And it'd be really cool to connect on there. So please check me out. Thanks. I guess as it relates to your business and whatnot, I'm curious to know, right? Well, I guess either or over the past few months, or if there's anything coming down the pipe, like what are some projects that are coming your way?
Yeah, so I have there's a couple things I can't quite share on, some coaching experiences, kind of some retreats that I will be a part of that are someone else's stuff, um, that is kind of coming up. But as I know more, I will obviously share the details and share that out. I am working on a couple interesting projects myself. I obviously have my one-on-one VIP coaching. That's kind of the bread and butter stuff. You get the coaching program. It's 4 months long. You get the one-on-one weekly calls with myself. You get the unlimited tech support from me. You do get a lot of my time, and I'm happy to give that time. That is where I see the biggest dividend in really helping men. It's mainly men, really helping men achieve sobriety, unlock their unlimited potential, and achieve that high performance life. And those are kind of the three key blocks of the stuff that I'm doing. So that one-on-one VIP coaching is kind of the mainstay. That's staying the same. That's not changing. I do have two kind of interesting new offers kind of being built, that I'm currently working on. I can give a sneak peek. One is a 6-week course. It's group coaching. You're still on a weekly call with myself. It's still a live call. So any questions that come up throughout the week are able to be asked and answered. And you're in a group, a smaller group. It's 10 people at a time, and 6 weeks at a time. really nice price point on that one, and just trying to provide as much. It's pretty much the same stuff that is in my one-on-one VIP coaching. It kind of touches on the six, in my mind, the six core principles and topics within human performance and breathwork, sobriety, that type of stuff. It's a 6-week course. It's really intensive. And I'm trying to just give, like, how can I give as much value as possible? Whether it's the one-on-one stuff or the 6-week course, and then the other one I'm doing with the guy that's actually my trainer and one of my good buds. His name's Paul Hudson. He's a trainer in Calgary. We're doing a human performance boot camp. It's a 1-day event. He does kind of all the physical training, the physical performance side of things, nutrition. I'm doing the breath work and the contrast therapy. So we do some breath work, we do some training. There's some running in there. There is hot and cold sauna and ice bath. There's a live Q&A. There's a meal, just like a private event 1 day. And we're trying to run it once a quarter, but that's kind of the two kind of new programs I'm kind of running right now. And those are kind of in the mid stages of being built. So that's kind of the main stuff. So if someone's interested, obviously my DMs and my Instagram is probably the best place to get in touch with me. I'm on there. I'd like to think I'm on there not that often, but I seem to be on there quite often. And if someone shoots me a DM, I'm happy to jump in and have a conversation. I love talking to people. So that's the best place to get in touch with me.
Cool. And I can put your Instagram handle in the show notes for this as well. Perfect. Is what kind of success stories have you seen with some of your students?
Yeah, so I can say that of all the guys I've worked with, they're all still sober. So that obviously shows that they're willing to do the work to get sober. One was able to build his business. Since we worked together, he was able to go from like 3 or 4K months consecutively to now he's over 40K months as he's a business coach. And he's down in the States and he's doing fantastic things now. And just, I think he just signed up for his first ultra as well. So I guess wow. he caught the bug, I guess. And he's interested in doing that. So there's things like changing the amount of, creating massive abundance and growth within their business. Others are getting in the best shape of their life. Others are running ultra marathons. One guy is actually becoming a breathwork coach. He was so inspired by all the work we did doing breathwork that he's like, this is what I love. This is what I want to do. And we actually still work together a little bit, and I give him as much knowledge, information, connect him with the people I know as much as I can. So that's the other thing. Like if I'm working with someone, I want them to succeed as much as that would be, I don't know why someone would ever find a coach if the coach is not in their corner trying to help them become the champion that they're meant to be. So there's stuff like that. There are first responders that I've worked with. There are military operators, business people, entrepreneurs, founders, co-founders, kind of you name it. I try and I'd say anyone that is looking for more performance in their life, whether that means they are a business leader, entrepreneur, a founder, co-founder, a military operator, someone that's already a high performer, great. If you see yourself as a high performer, you want to be the best husband or the best dad or the best electrician or whatever your job is, you want to be the best version of yourself. Those are the people that that I'm truly looking to support.
That's awesome. Amazing. Now, before we wrap things up here, I got a couple more questions for you.
Yeah.
The first one is what kind of lessons have you learned with building your business that you could share for the audience? If there was maybe one or two key pieces that really sticks out in your mind of maybe there were hurdles that you had to face, or just you shared a little bit about uh, going to YouTube to find out how to do all these things, and then actually committing to doing it. But if there's like one or two pieces of advice, what would they be?
Oh, that's a great question. That is such a good question. The number one would be do the work. No one is going to do it for you. You're going to have to, put your if you want it, if that's something that you want, and that's your business, you got to do the work. You got to put it in. You got to put in the time. You got to understand that you might not be having a day off on a Saturday and a Sunday. You might not be hanging out with the boys. You might be skipping out on hunting trips. You might be doing all the things that, missing out on some of the things that you enjoy doing the most. And so just know that you're going to have to do the work if you want to be successful. That's number one. Number two is like refocusing or changing that niche or changing that focal point. It's going to happen, and just trusting in whatever that new direction is and putting everything you got into that new direction, giving it time. And if you're not feeling lit up by it, pivot. There's nothing wrong with pivoting. It does not mean you're
Amazing.
failing. It just means you're finding a new direction to drive.
Absolutely. I like that. I've always kind of been of the notion of if you have this you have your end goal in mind, right? And if you picture like a staircase, you have that end goal in mind, but you can only see like that first step, and you have no idea how many stairs you have to climb to get there. And I find like as soon as you take the first step, you start to see like it's like driving through the fog, right? Like you can only see 100 feet in front of you, but then you keep unveiling the next 100 feet. And sometimes, like you said, you got to pivot, or there's a turn that you got to take. And it's just, I think as long as you continue to move forward and don't get stuck on, making decisions, however hard that it can be, like just keep moving forward and trust your gut. And, when you need to pivot, pivot, but understand that you're still taking a step forward towards the end goal.
Exactly. Love that.
Now, you had alluded to this a little bit earlier, but if there's like 1 to 3 books that you could recommend, doesn't have to be any specific genre, but 3 books you could recommend for the audience to check out, what would they be?
Oh, I love that. I read a lot, and huh, I'd put it in like a category of the 3 books that I've learned the most from myself. So I'm going to say Breath by James Nestor. That's one I brought up earlier, but that I think
Mhm.
is the number one. Another is it's a personal book and preaches on personal liberty and individualism, and that's Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Now, I might take some heat for that, but that's okay. And oh man, there's just so many other books, but hmm, the last one, I'm rereading it now, but yeah, I'll use that one as It's an old book by Richard Carlson, the author of Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, but it's his other book called Don't Worry, Make Money.
Oh, wow.
It's a book about abundance. It's about creating abundance in your life, whether it's relationships, business, etc. And Richard Carlson was a fantastic writer. I think he passed away many years ago, but it's fantastic.
Wow. I have heard of his one book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, but I have not heard of this one. So I'll have to check out all three, especially the James Nestor book, Breathe. So you've mentioned it a couple times here, so that's saying a lot.
Absolutely, that's the best one to read, I think.
Cool. Well, Shea, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on here. I know you said you had an early morning today, and there's a bit of a time difference here, but I do appreciate you making time for me.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
And like we said before, you said the best way for people to reach you is through Instagram. Is that correct?
Yeah, Instagram, my handle, I'll just tag it in here, is Shea, SHEA.Fairbanks, FAIRBANKS. Send me a DM. I'm happy to chat anytime.
So it's exactly the same as the name displayed, just without the space, put a period.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Okay, perfect.
So thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of the PromoMinds podcast, Interview Style. There's a lot to digest there, and I'm really looking forward to pulling up some of those books, the James Nestor Breathe, and re-listening to this on more of the breath work and that sort of thing. So I hope there was some golden nuggets in there for you. And once again, really, really appreciative for Shea to take the time out of his day to sit down with us. So thanks. And, until next time, take care. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of PromoMinds podcast. I'm Steve Leslie. And if you want help crafting your message or sharing your story, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help. Love coming up with ideas, and we can have a nice chat. So reach out to promominds@gmail.com and I'll respond. Take care.